Welcome to Championship Dads. I'm Dennis Jumper with Arkansas Better Dads. I'm a father of 3 and grandfather to 10, and like all dads, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we do learn from our mistakes, don't we? In these 4 sessions, I'm going to show you 16 tips to help you be a better dad. You can follow along with me in the workbook, or if you want to just watch and listen, that will be fine. Let's get right into the lessons. We're going to start with lesson number 1 about providing. Championship dads provide leadership. Our first tip is Better Dads tip number 1 is to be a good leader. Now, in homes, a good question to ask is who's in charge? Well, too many homes, we would probably come to the conclusion, if we watched them and observed them, that the kids seem to be in charge because everything seems to be done around them. While it's important that we consider the wishes and desires of our children, dads need to be the leader in the home. And with parents leading, homes can follow a plan and provide an atmosphere where there are guidelines, boundaries, and standards, and which would declare and set up or establish what is right and acceptable in the family. This provides a security that every child needs. Children may they might protest and they're not going to like the boundaries as such, but they will appreciate them in time and they will find comfort in them. Whether a dad feels like you're a good leader or not, you're leading one way or another. You're either being a good example or a bad example. And so we need to recognize that as dads, we are leading in one way or another. And we want to definitely lead in the best way possible. In our relationships, when our kids see us being kind, forgiving, and helpful to those who need assistance, our kids are probably going to mirror that in their relationships and do what they saw us do. So consider also another aspect. When you bring friends or other people into your children's life, what impact will they have on your children? What will they be learning from them as well? To be a good positive role model requires several things. Your workbook talks about being a positive role model will have a healthy mind, be positive, always learning and open, have a healthy lifestyle, practice good eating and health or diet, exercise, all those things that relate to a healthy lifestyle. They will look for teachable moments, keeping the lines of communication open within the family, and they will model unselfish service. One other key thing about being a leader is this. Great leaders know how to prioritize, which means literally to just keep things in proper perspective. And championship dads will continually monitor what they are doing to make sure they are putting the right things first in their lives. This prioritizing of your family, your faith, your friendships, your hobbies, your jobs, and on. This sends a very important message to our kids as to what matters most in life. Better Dads tip number 2, live with integrity. Integrity means to be whole, to be complete, to be sound without any flaws. We talk about of a boat's hull as having integrity. That we mean that it is complete. There's no fractures in it. Now, living a life of integrity means that you are simply living consistently by a rule or standard or set of principles. And our children are, of course, doing what? They are watching us all the time, and they are watching to see if what you do matches what you say. So having integrity means we do what we value and believe to be right, even if no one is looking. So we must teach our children, and we let them catch us doing what is right. They're probably going to learn more about what they see us do than what we tell them. Now, sometimes it may be a matter of looking for teachable moments as life goes on, where we find a situation to teach a valuable lesson to our children. But we must see and give our kids an example of behavior that is worth following. Now, how can you do this? Well, we've got something in your workbook there called Dads with Integrity. What do they do? What does this mean from a practical standpoint? Dads with integrity are going to keep their word. When you say something, when you make a promise, you keep it. You're going to do the right thing when no one is looking. You can be trusted. You're going to be fair. You're going to show respect to others. You're going to be the same in public as you are at home. And very importantly, the dad with integrity is going to speak truth with love. Better Dad's tip number 3, guiding your family's journey. Dads play an important role in the identity and character of their family, and helping them guide it through the stages of life. Let me give you an example. Think about going on a guided tour to someplace. That guide is not just going to show you things, but the guide is also going to tell you and explain to you what you are seeing. This guide is also there to answer your questions about what you're experiencing. Championship dads guide their families through the experiences of life. Championship dads guide their families by helping them find their identity, helping them develop their character. Your insight and your ability to answer your child's questions will be invaluable to their growing up to be productive adults. Showing them the benefits of being kind, being generous, being loving, having a good work ethic. All these things are going to help guide your family through the experiences of life. Better Dad's tip number 4, serve with humility. It has long been recognized that organizations tend to mirror the example of the leader or boss. And in the family, this same imitation can be found. And the culture of a family is a product of how the parents are leading. And leadership in a family needs to be based on a servant leadership model. The key characteristic of a servant leader is humility. Championship dads understand this important principle. A dad who is a servant leader is going to focus on best how to serve his family. Dads who lead by this model will instill important values as to how their child should treat others and how they should act as a family. And these values of servanthood are going to impact the child's entire life. A dad who embraces what's sometimes referred to as the authoritarian, or even a dictator-like style of leadership, the dad who always wants to be the boss, okay? This approach tends to fail. If you do this type of leadership in a family, it tends to create resentments. It tends to create anger. It tends to trigger rebellion among family members. Children raised in this atmosphere are often find themselves questioning whether or not their dad, the dictator, really truly loves them. And they tend to develop deep insecurities. True humility is really an attitude of the heart. It's having the desire to serve rather than to be served. The famous writer and author Rick Warren defined humility this way: humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. Now, what does this really look like in a dad? What does humility really look like from a practical standpoint? If you're a humble dad, you're going to be quick to ask for and give forgiveness. You are also not going to need to be the center of attention. A humble dad is not going to mind getting his hands dirty. And a humble dad is going to be transparent and open. Humble dads know they're not perfect. They know their own strengths and weaknesses. And they will admit their mistakes. They know they're not perfect.